Hello, I think I'm live. Hi, Melody. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I'm not sure anybody else is here, but that's totally okay. I'm just doing a second presentation that I did last night for the Baldwin Public Library, all about collecting vintage kitsch. So I thought, hey, I should do a second presentation for anybody else that couldn't attend the Zoom last night. So here is round 2 of the presentation. So welcome everybody that has joined. Thank you so much for being here. I am Amy Hackworth of Enamor, and I have been selling vintage for a little over 8 years. I have also been a vintage crafter for well over 15 years. I do local craft shows, and I also sell my creations online. Hey, Susan, thanks for joining. This was kind of an impromptu little live second presentation that I did last night. So thanks so much for hopping on and joining me tonight. So what I'm going to be talking about tonight is vintage kitsch, what it is, where you can find it, and maybe give you some ideas of things that you might be interested in collecting yourself if you haven't started a collection. Hey, Lisa, thanks for joining. Okay, so if you guys are not following me on Instagram, my handle over there is enamor_Amy, the same as it is here on YouTube. I made it super easy to find me over there if you're not following me over there as well. So I do local craft shows in the Detroit area, and I also sell my handmade creations on YouTube and Instagram, mostly around holidays. So I will show a couple pieces of my handmade kitsch toward the end. So what does kitsch mean anyway? So kitsch pretty much the word comes from a German terminology, which it used to mean back in the 1930s and 1940s, something that was tacky, garish, off-putting, something that was low quality. And nowadays, I feel like that terminology has changed quite a bit. And I think kitsch to me means something that evokes an emotion, brings back a happy memory, makes you smile when you look at it, something that makes an emotional reaction or an attachment to something. So I think that is what kitsch means to me. And I think a lot of people value kitsch more than they did probably 10, 15 years ago. It definitely has increased in popularity in the last 10 years, I would say. And it has a very high collectability. And it is relatively easy to find if you know where to find it. So what I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to show you some different examples of kitsch, different things that you might be interested in collecting, different makers, resources that you can look at to try and find these things, and how to identify these things when you're out in the wild, because that's important too, so you know what you're looking for. Hey, Diane, thanks for popping in. All right, so important things to try and find stuff that speaks to you. Instagram is a great resource, even if you're not familiar with how to use it. Hashtags are pretty much search terms. So if you go to the search bar in Instagram, you can type in hashtags, and it will bring up photos that other people have posted, maybe of things for sale or maybe of their personal collections as well. You guys know, if you followed me for any amount of time, I love deer. So anytime I post a picture of my deer collection, I use hashtag vintage deer. So you can click on that hashtag, and anybody else that has posted a vintage deer, either for sale or their collection, will use that hashtag as well. So not only can you find things that you might be interested in, things that you might be interested in purchasing, but you might discover new people that you want to follow as well for inspiration. So I highly suggest searching hashtags on Instagram just to find out kind of the styling of things that you like to collect, or maybe would be interested in collecting. A few that I recommend checking out as far as kitsch goes, hashtag kitsch, hashtag kitschy cute, hashtag kitsch ceramics, hashtag Japan ceramics. So those will all show you kind of the same styling as far as what people consider kitsch today. And if you're into Christmas, hashtag vintage Christmas and hashtag kitschmas has become a very popular hashtag to find just those specific vintage Christmas items that fall within the mid-century range. So a few other good resources that you can look for if you're just starting out collecting or you're really interested in what pieces actually exist out there, I would highly recommend trying to get your hand on some of these old price guide books. Now, a lot of the times you can find these on Amazon. You could find used copies on Amazon. Occasionally you can find them on Etsy and eBay as well. I actually have purchased quite a few at antique stores, flea markets, and I've also run across some on goodwill.com. They will put used books up on their website for you to purchase. One of them in particular, I did purchase on goodwill.com. So if there's a particular maker that you think you like the styling of, or you wonder what pieces actually exist, definitely highly recommend those books. I can't recommend them enough. Now, what's great about these kind of books is it really helps to just leaf through the pictures. And that way, when you're out at a garage sale, you're at an estate sale, you could recognize things a lot easier because you've already seen pictures of them. And as far as these price guides go, a lot of these books were produced in the 1980s and the 1990s, sometimes into the early 2000s. So a lot of the prices that they will give you for these items that are in these books are way out of date. So again, you know, if you find an angel that you're out looking for and you don't know what month it's for or which other ones go with it, these are really, really great references just to have, and they're fun to look at too. I can spend hours looking at these books, and it always helps me if I know I'm going to be going on a trip to another state or I'm going to be going to an estate sale. Looking at these books ahead of time really helps me hone in on the pieces that I know are probably collectible or valuable. So like I mentioned, the prices and the values on things in these books are out of date. How do you find out the current value of something? So the easiest way that you can do something to figure out what it is, what the maker is, or what kind of value it is. Google Lens is a great tool. You can download it on your phone. It works on iPhones. It works on Android phones. So if you're out and about, you come across a piece, what the heck is this? You can take a picture of it with your phone and Google will automatically search that image for you and it will populate anything that is similar looking to that. And it may give you a maker, it may give you a year, and it may give you a current eBay listing to look at for that item. Now, a lot of people don't go that extra step. They try and look up something on eBay if they know what it is, and they're just looking at the listing price. You don't want to look at the listing price because anybody can list anything for any price on eBay. So what you want to really go for is the sold listings on eBay. Now, how you find that is you search for your item, and then there's a filter that you can apply to your results. So there's a little click down arrow that you can go in and you can select sold items and completed items. And that will show you any recent sold items for that thing that you search for. Now, if you search for something and you don't get any results, chances are it might be a little bit harder to find and one hasn't been sold recently. Another great resource is WorthPoint. Now, that is a search engine as well, and it holds searches and sold items from eBay. And I think the oldest search that I have come across has been from 2007. So it's a really good reference point. However, it is a paid subscription. So you can search for things on there and get picture images, but in order to see what something sold for, you have to pay for the subscription in order to see that. If you are interested in getting into the reselling business or reselling on eBay or anything like that, I do highly recommend that. It definitely pays for itself. I probably use it on a daily basis, but it is good to just search for something and get a picture if you are searching for something. If you don't want to pay for the subscription, you just won't be able to see those sold prices. So the best way to value things as well is the condition of your piece. If you come across a piece, George the Antique Nomad taught me this little tip. You don't want to feel around the edge of something with your fingers. You don't want to do this to feel for chips. You always want to use the palm of your hand. Why do you want to do that? The skin on the palm of your hand is a lot thinner than the calluses that have developed on your fingers. So that is what I always do. You can feel with your finger first, but always follow it up with your palm just to check for any damage that might be on the pieces. And flea bites generally, I've found over the years that really don't take away that much from a piece. And typically, if you're selling a piece that does have flea bites or small, tiny little chips on them, most people don't mind those things as long as you disclose them and show them where they are located. Anything bigger than a flea bite, like a major chip or a bad repair, like a decapitated head on an angel, most people kind of would be okay with that as long as you disclose that information, but it definitely brings the value down as compared with a piece that's in great condition. And a lot of these mid-century ceramics will have crazing on them. I'm not sure if anybody has heard that term before, but what that means, I'm going to show you a piece here. This is a Holt Howard Santa dish piece. I'm going to try and get really up in here. A lot of these mid-century ceramics will have a glaze here. It's kind of this crackly effect. Now, that doesn't really affect the stability of the piece. It's not going to explode into 100 different pieces, but aesthetically, some people prefer to not have their ceramic pieces with crazing. I personally don't mind it because I think it adds character to the pieces. You can definitely tell that it's an older piece. And sometimes the crazing will get stains in there. That just comes with age. This particular piece is from 1962. So the fact that it has this kind of crazing and staining on there, that really doesn't bother me so much. But there are quite a few people out there that do prefer their pieces to not have those. They like their pieces in mint condition. And a lot of times I don't come across mint condition pieces. So as long as you disclose anything that might be, something wrong with the piece, or it has crazing or tiny flea bites, that's okay, but it might not have as much value as something that might be in mint condition. The other thing I wanted to touch on as far as condition is called cold paint. I have talked about this a few times on different live sales on my channel, but a lot of these mid-century pieces were cold painted. So what that means is that the paint was applied after the piece was fired. So this here is glazed over. Okay, so it has a shiny glaze on it. So the piece was fired and glaze was applied afterward to protect the ceramic. Now on Santa's face here, you can see on the tip of his nose, there's a little white spot. That is cold paint loss. So his face and his hat are both cold painted. So cold paint, because it doesn't have any sealant over it, it's subjected to scratching and peeling. And if it gets wet at all, it will come right off. So if you come across a piece that is cold painted and it is dirty, do not get it wet. So if you have something, this piece here has a lot of cold paint on it. All of the red here is all cold paint. Now, if this guy was dirty, how I would clean him is a very soft, dry cloth, and that's it. You don't want to take anything very abrasive to the cold paint. It scratches very easily as well. So be gentle if you come across anything that has the cold paint. How to tell the difference between cold paint and glaze. So cold paint has a texture to it. So if you drag your finger over it, it doesn't slide like it's a glazed piece of ceramic. It kind of has a texture to it. If you come across a piece, then I think you can probably tell the difference. And it does scratch very, very easily. So a lot of these cold painted things, you will see tiny scratches on them just because of age and moving around and putting in boxes and wrapping and all of that stuff. But a lot of times you will find some that are in pretty decent shape, and that's pretty good. So keep in mind condition when you come across things. And that is something that you have to personally decide if it's something that you want to start collecting. Do I mind if the paint has a few scratches in it? Do I mind if they have a couple flea bites? Or do I really want something that's pristine? And I definitely think pristine items are definitely on the higher dollar range if you do come across some of those things on eBay or on listings online. So now we're going to get into the types of things that you can collect. Now, there's so many different things as far as kitsch concerns. And a person can be kitschy too. Clothing can be kitschy, but I'm mainly going to be focusing on types of items that you can collect if you're interested in starting a collection. So I would say probably the easiest thing that you can come across and collect and display that doesn't take up a whole lot of room are salt and pepper shakers. There are so many different varieties, so many different animals, so many different styles, but they're easy to display. They do not take up a lot of room. So Margaret Keane, unfortunately, just passed away this past week. And she was mostly noted for her big eye, sad eye artwork. So she did people with large eyes and animals with large eyes. That was kind of what she was best known for. So these shakers are kind of in the style of Margaret Keane and very collectible. And I foresee probably if you come across any Margaret Keane stylized artwork soon, it's probably going to be going up in value. So I would keep an eye out for those things if you are interested in collecting, because they might be harder to find with her passing as well. So salt and pepper shakers come in so many different varieties. I myself do collect salt and pepper shakers as long as they're deer. So here's a set of deer. So you could collect any kind of shakers you like. You could collect one certain kind of animal. You could also collect different types of girls. I know there's a lot of different people shakers out there, just farm animals, those kind of things. Very easy to find salt and pepper shakers. Pretty much any antique store that you will go into, you will find a booth that has salt and pepper shakers. And some of the more desirable salt and pepper shakers are very valuable. If you come across, there are some well-known. These are Napco Miss Cutie Pie, and they produced a whole kitchen line based on this design. So there's a matching cookie jar and different kitchen pieces. They made these in pink, blue, and yellow. And the Napco Miss Cutie Pie will always be stamped on the bottom of their pieces somewhere. And these are made by Napco. So again, if you're out looking and you come across a pair of these, snatch them up. They're really, really good, and they are on the harder to find side. So keep your eye out for Miss Cutie Pie. Even if you're not interested in collecting it for somebody else, it might be desirable for somebody that you know. There are a lot of Facebook groups that you can join for specific makers or specific eras, and there's always somebody that's looking for something to complete their collection. Another great piece to look for is the Lefton Bluebirds. These guys, I don't come across them terribly often. They are somewhat on the harder to find side, but I certainly get excited when I come across them because they're just so cute. And I think that these are a great definition of kitsch because you can't help but smile when you look at these. The expression on their faces, all the fun little colorful details. And these are made by Lefton. They typically will have a signature of GOZ Lefton there on the bottom. They may or may not have a foil Lefton tag. Sometimes those are missing. But again, if you come across these and you're really not sure what they are, use that Google Lens tool because it is really valuable to be able to tell you what you found. It's great. It's a great resource. Next, I'm going to move into plastic. Kitsch-tastic plastic, you guys. It's amazing, and it's a vast category. So there's barware, there's decor pieces, there's definitely holiday pieces, a lot of different things that you can collect if you like the styling. So these are kind of a funny thing, and a lot of times with kitsch, there's puns, play on words. These are vintage bar stir sticks, and they're actually sticks. So that is kitsch to me as well. And the box itself is wood grain. Again, fun, colorful, vintage plastic. Can't go wrong with that. And then holidays, like I said, this is kind of a blow mold pixie head. I believe this came in a flower arrangement once upon a time. I certainly would love to receive a flower arrangement with that guy poking out. But kitsch-tastic plastic, for sure. And this one here, this Easter piece, is by far the kitschiest thing that I probably have up here in my inventory currently. So this just screams mid-century to me. So we have a flocked chicken head with plastic flowers and that plastic Easter grass. This is the definition of kitsch for me, for sure. But fun to collect these kind of pieces. They made them for Easter. They made them for Valentine's Day and Halloween and Christmas. So you could just do a collection of these kind of fun little centerpieces. That would be an amazing collection, and I would love to see it. And then anthropomorphic is another great category for things. This is a bank, and a lot of times when you opened a savings account or your child opened a bank account, they would give you a little gift as a little thank you prize. And there were a lot of these fruit banks that came in different types of fruit. But the fun thing about these, not the fact that there's eyelashes on the pear, but if you don't really want a happy pear, you can change these around and make it into a sad pear. So just kitschy, fun, and cute. Hey, Sarah, thanks so much for hopping on. And speaking of anthropomorphic, so these are really popular pieces to collect as well. So this is made by PY Japan. Now, PY Japan will always have a marking on the bottom of their pieces. It's a PY in a circle. Sometimes the earlier pieces will say PY Mayeo. So Mayeo was the designer. So earlier PY will have that symbol. And the NC mark, I know a lot of people are confused by that mark. They think it's Norcrest, they think it's NAPCO. That's actually just a distributor mark in Japan. That's all that means. So PY fruit pieces and the PY flower pieces are very, very collectible. There's such a range of these pieces. There's a whole line of kitchen collection in just the fruit. And if you just like the apple, you can just collect the apple pieces. There's lemons, there's limes, there's pineapple. There's so many different fruits in this line. You really could collect it all. And yes, Sarah, you do have a fabulous collection of these fruit pieces. And the flowers, PY also made a lot of different flower pieces. This is a wall pocket, so a little planter that you could put up on your wall. They also made shakers and other flower pieces that coordinate with these as well. So I'm just trying to give you guys some ideas. Maybe if you like this stuff, but you don't really know where to start, that's kind of the purpose of my little presentation today. So paper is another really easy thing to collect. It really doesn't take up a whole lot of room. Easy to display if you like to do holiday displays. So first I want to talk about greeting cards. Greeting cards and the graphics on these, again, pretty much any antique store that you go in will have some vendor has vintage greeting cards. And I want you guys to pay attention to Halloween because the full and harder to find. So if you come across some at an estate sale, snatch them up. They are good. This is a little pop-up card. So cute. easy to display, very fun to collect these because they're all different, so cute graphics. A lot of times I find vintage greeting cards and they have been used. So they will have, you know, from grandpa and grandma, something like that on the back. If you find some that are unused, they typically will have a little bit better value on them if they're unused cards. This is one that you can actually stand up and make into a three-dimensional little display. This is flocked as well. Flocking on anything is very desirable. I love flocking myself, and I also love vintage greeting cards. So again, these are very easy to collect. So many different styles. You could collect just Christmas cards. You could collect just black cats. Unlimited things that you can collect with the vintage greeting cards, and they're very, very easy to display as well. And that brings me to vintage books. Again, the graphics on vintage books are some of my favorites, especially from the mid-century. So the 1940s up through the 1960s are probably my favorite illustrations and styles. But again, these don't take up a whole lot of room, easy to put into a display, fun to collect because you never know which ones you're going to come across, and so much options for displayability. If you are doing a display with cats and dogs, there you go. You can just open up the book, put it behind your ceramic pieces, and you have an instant display. And if you come across a vintage book and it's not in that great a shape or it's falling apart, don't pass it up. You can always rescue it and pop these pictures into a frame because that makes instant art on your walls as well. Very easy to decorate with vintage children's book images. And decals are very fun to come across as well. These, a lot of times, they may or may not work. These are water slide decals, so you would get them wet, put them on a steamer trunk, a height chair, a little shelf, a canister set, something like that, if you wanted to really add some pizzazz to something. But sometimes they will work, sometimes they won't work. It's kind of a gamble because they're so old. So they also display really sweetly if you want to leave them in their original packaging, but you could also pop this out and put it into a frame as well. Easy wall art. All right, and then next, I think I'm going to talk about chained animals. The chained animals here, there's so many different variations of the chained animals. And a lot of times there will be a big one and then some babies that are attached by a chain. Again, these just scream kitsch to me. I think it's the fur element, the ceramic element, the cuteness, and we add in that human element by giving it glasses. There are so many different animals that come chained. There are more realistic looking chained animals as well, if you're really not into the cartoony looking ones. A lot of different makers made these, a lot of different sizes. There's miniature ones as well. So if you don't have room for something big, you can collect all the small ones. And there's so many to look for. And again, a hashtag that you can check out for those on Instagram are hashtag chained ceramics. That is a fun one to look at to see other people's collections of these. There are people that just collect the chain animals, and they're fun to see all the different ones for sure. The other thing was furry ceramics. So those chained animals were furry as well. There's figurines that are just furry figurines as well to collect. Now, these are two different makers, but very similar in style. They are both animals. They both have fur. One has a hat, one has a bow tie, but they're different makers. So this skunk here is made by UCADCO. And typically, if that sticker is missing, there's no other marking on here to tell you what this guy is. Again, Google Lens would probably help you out in that instance. And this little pink guy here with the red fur is made by Bradley. And there's Bradley did do a lot of furry critters. I will say that. They were very popular with the furry ceramic pieces. Hi, guys. Thanks so much for hopping on. All right. Head vases. Head vases have made a resurgence. They have become very popular. Again, there are more fancy ladies, mostly made by Napco, some Minesco, with the bouffant hairdos and little pearl earrings and necklaces. Those have become very popular. There are some on the little cuter side. This is a little girl planter with a kitten. This is made by Inesco. Now, this piece does not have its Inesco foil sticker. It just has a little stamp there on the bottom that says Japan. If you came across this piece and you're like, this is really cute, but I have no idea what it is, Google Lens. Google Lens will immediately pull this up for you and tell you that it's Inesco. And condition-wise is very important with these head vases. For collectors, I have found out they really like everything to be in pristine condition, not missing an earring. The more pieces that are complete on something and the condition is good on these, the better value that they do hold. And Halloween. Halloween is a big category. You're either into Halloween or you're not into Halloween. But I will say Halloween, anything is very, very collectible, very fun to display and collect. This is a very large and in charge planter. This is made by Relpo. Again, he does not have his marking there on the bottom, but if you do a Google image search on this guy, likely you will get him to come up. Just fun to collect Halloween pieces. Halloween is one of my favorite holidays as well. A lot of different possibilities. I did show you the vintage greeting cards as well. Fun to collect Halloween pieces to make a special display in your home for those. And I do know that a lot of people love to see collections shared on Instagram as well. And then we are to the last category, you guys, which is Christmas, which is my personal favorite. I call it Kitschmas. And there's so many possibilities for collecting certain things in Christmas. Now, a lot of people do like the traditional Christmas aspect, the bulbs, the decorations, that sort of thing. But if you're really into the kitsch Christmas, there's quite a few possibilities that you can collect that all coordinate with each other very well as well. So plush, I'm going to talk about plush first. So this is a deer that's made by Kamar. A lot of different makers. Dakin made some kind of felted little stuffed deer in different colors. There were several different makers that made these stuffed deer. So you could have just a whole collection of just these kind of stuffed deer. They did make mooses as well. I have seen mooses. But fun to display, fun to collect because they all will be a little bit different. And knee huggers, you guys, please, if you come across any knee huggers at church rummage sales or garage sales, snatch them up. They're very hard to find and they're very valuable and collectible. And you can't ever have too many of them because they're all different. They all will have different faces and ears and stylized differently. And some will have a little hanger on them where you could use them as an ornament, or some can just sit on their own. Keep an eye out for the vintage knee huggers. Some people think these are creepy. They're that borderline thing that's creepy and cute, but I think that these make a fabulous collection. You could actually decorate an entire tree with just knee huggers and it would look amazing. And there's so many different styles of the knee huggers. And this one has kind of a bigger hard plastic head. These are especially very, very collectible. If you run across one of these, snatch it up. He does have a Japan sticker on the back there. And then we've got Kamar, made large and in charge pixie elves. And if you come across something like this that is a very unusual color, especially for Christmas time, anything that is pink, purple, or teal is very valuable as well. This is made by Kamar on the back. So the same maker as this deer. So you could just collect Kamar if you were really into their styling of things. They coordinate each other just fine. I think they go together. or if you just wanted to collect stuff in non-traditional colors, that would be a great thing to look for. Blow molds are very collectible as well, especially these small ones. A lot of times you will see the big ones that you can set outside on your porch or in your yard. Keep an eye out for the little tabletop guys. I personally have a collection of these small ones in Halloween and in Christmas. They're so much easier to display on a shelf. They look really cute next to the bottom of your Christmas tree if you want to add a little bit of light down there with your presents. Very easy to display, and typically they're pretty easy to replace the bulbs inside if they burn out. Usually the best time that you can find these are at estate sales during the year. Church rummage sales will sometimes have these smaller ones, but definitely keep an eye out if you like to go to antique places in your area. Usually vendors will start putting out their Christmas items in November. And if you really are interested in something, I would suggest going early because these usually get snatched up pretty quickly. But fun to collect these. They do have a whole bunch of different styles of these little tabletop blow molds. And ceramics is our last Christmas category. There's so many things that you can collect, Christmas ceramics, and a lot of different styles and a lot of different makers. Probably the most popular Christmas ceramic maker is Holt Howard. These are salt and pepper shakers. Again, they could go in a salt and pepper shaker collection, or they could go in a Christmas collection. These are the holly girls here. The poinsettias on these, you guys, those are cold painted, but they're in excellent shape. As you can see, there's no scratches on the cold paint at all. And I will say with these particular shakers, that's hard to find. A lot of times when I see these, a lot of the paint is missing on those poinsettias. So a lot of Christmas collectors do prefer their pieces to be in better condition. And I did show this big-headed guy earlier. This is definitely more on the kitsch side as far as this is more kind of on the traditional side. This one's a little bit kitschier, I would say, just because he is flat. His features are definitely exaggerated. This is made by Tilso. There's the maker there on the bottom. And again, he is all cold painted, pretty good shape. He does have a couple scratches on him, but there is a whole range of just these little choir kids with these flat faces. And there are a lot of other choir boy figurines. So that could be a whole collection in itself, just choir boys. And Santa is always popular. This is another Holt Howard piece. Typically, Holt Howard pieces will be marked with Holt Howard, sometimes with a date, sometimes not. And you always want to look for that foil sticker with that double H's. If you're out and you find a piece and you flip it over and you see that sticker, that's a good piece. So definitely pick it up. So this is a little trinket tray of Santa. Just fun to display. You can also put this in a plate rack and display it in the background or on a shelf if you didn't want to actually use it for a dish. And my last category is planters. Planters in the Christmas styling are also very collectible, depending on what the subject matter is, and very fun to display. You can also put things in the back here to display out of it. Some mercury glass, some candy canes are always easy, and bottle brush trees to display in vintage planters. Christmas planters, Christmas lady head planters are very, very collectible. So if you come across one, use that Google lens so you can find out what you have. Where can you find stuff? So right now, I know it's mostly garage sale season throughout the country right now. Garage sales are great places, especially if you can figure out if there's going to be a community garage sale. So a whole different community and subdivision is doing a sale. That's a great place to go. You can hit multiple sales in one location. Estatesales.net is very valuable because if you've never checked out that website before, all you got to do is plug in your zip code to where you live, and it will show you estate sales coming up in the surrounding area of where you live. So depending on how far you want to drive for a sale, you can also set the distance, and it will show you, if you only want to drive 20 miles, it will show you just those sales. Or if you want to drive up to 50 miles, it will show you more that are kind of outside of your area as well. But those are great, great things. If you've never been to an estate sale before, check it out. If you plug in your zip code, click on a sale, you can go through all the pictures of the sale. Make sure and pay attention to the company information that's listed there. It will tell you the times for the sale, and it will tell you where parking is usually, and it will tell you if they accept sign-up sheets or numbers or not. I know a lot of companies around here, they do sign-up sheets. So what that means is that when you show up, you write your name on a list, and then when the sale is getting ready to open, they will let everybody in that order into the sale. Sometimes they will use a list to hand out numbers. So they'll go by the list, and then your number 1, your number 2, and then they will hand out the numbers typically when they get there before the sale. And then you can leave, go get coffee, whatever you need to do, and then be back before the sale opens, and they will let you in by your number. Some companies don't do either of those things. If you've never been to an estate sale before, and there's something there that you're really, really interested in, I would recommend getting there early. Don't show up 15 minutes before the sale. Show up hours before the sale if it's something that you're really interested in. That way you can ensure you're at the front of the line and hopefully get a better chance at getting that item. And I am doing this presentation as a repeat for the Baldwin Public Library in Birmingham, Michigan. So I do know that there's several people that will be watching the replay of this that live in Michigan. So I'm going to be mentioning a couple local places that people can go to check out in the Detroit area. So Utica Antiques Market. The next one is July 9th and 10th and September 10th and 11th. That is in Shelby Township, a great antique market, several hundred vendors, great show to go to find pretty much anything. The Michigan Antique Market in Davisburg, Michigan. The next one of those is October 8th and 9th. That is a fantastic show as well. Several hundred vendors outside and in several buildings. Shed 5 Flea Market at the Easter Market. That is always the second Sunday in July and August. Those will be your last opportunities to attend one of those events. The Rust Belt Market in Ferndale is always open every Friday through Sunday. There are rotating vendors in there, and there are permanent vendors as well. So definitely go check out the Rust Belt. Oddfellow Antiques in Berkeley, Michigan. That is a really fun store. A lot of mid-century, a lot of fun furniture and decor pieces, wall art in that store if that is something that you might be interested in. The Town Peddler Antique Mall in Livonia, very large store. Wear comfortable shoes if you plan on going there. And the Motor City Antique Gallery in Flat Rock, Michigan. That is a fantastic store, especially if you're looking for blow molds, you guys. Big blow molds and small ones. Definitely go check out Motor City Antique Gallery in Flat Rock, Michigan. So where can you find me? So I also do handmade kitsch as well. I have been a crafter for over 15 years. So I do use a lot of vintage in my own pieces. And I like to try and repurpose vintage when I can. I also use vintage fabrics, bits and baubles in some of my pieces as well. This is just one example of something that I do. So this is a vintage pose doll from the 70s. She was not in the best of shape when I found her. So I did give her a little makeover, and I turned her into a witch and decorated her hat. And if you guys are interested in coming to visit me in the Detroit area, typically I do craft shows only in December. So the Detroit Urban Craft Fair, which is at the Masonic Temple Theater, that is always the first Friday and Sunday in December. And this year I also will be a vendor at Tiny Expo, that is in Ann Arbor, Michigan, at the Ann Arbor Public Library. So come and see me. My Christmas pieces tend to go very quickly. I do repurpose vintage Christmas items in a lot of my pieces, that they do have that kind of kitschy cute aesthetic to all of them. So this is just one of the pieces that I decided to keep from last year. So that is it for my presentation. If you guys have questions for me, definitely the easiest way to get a hold of me is on Instagram, enamor_Amy. Send me a message if you have a question about anything. You can also shoot me an email. That is hackwortha12@gmail.com. And I just want to give a special shout out to everybody that joined my impromptu live tonight. Thank you guys so much for being here. And if you're watching on the replay, if you have questions, leave me a question down in the comments as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.